Hello and welcome everyone to the Bad League, Bad Pods podcast. I'm your co-host Zach Fuller. I am not with Ben Dunn today. He was unable to make it today, but we have a super sub. We got Travis. Travis, how we doing today?
How you doing, Zach? I'm good. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, man. So let's get right into it. We had Martinsville last night, and it was
That we did.
it was an experience to say the least. I mean, I don't know if it was too unexpected, but we ended up running 161 laps out of 155 scheduled. And actually, I'll ask you to guess how many you think were under caution, because this number
Well,
surprised the hell out of me. Out of
oh,
161.
I'm gonna say 90,
Yeah, it was 80.
80. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
literally half the
it
race.
it felt like it went by pretty quick. The
Yeah.
race did, but yeah, it felt. I mean, we were certainly pacing a lot. And what was the number of cautions? Was it 20?
It was 20. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't. I think we saw some of it coming. I think it was a little bit worse than I expected. I
Yeah.
didn't quite think it'd be that bad. Um, but yeah, it was quite the eventful night for I think everybody really. Everybody had a hand in something or other here and there.
Yeah. Definitely. So tell me about your race as a whole. I see you started 7th and came home 13th, so got a few points on the night. But how was it just in general?
Yeah, like I said, eventful. I think everybody had their fair share of incidents, with the exception of Dylan, I think. But yeah, I started 7th. I wasn't fast. I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of speed all night. Um, kind of just took it careful and tried to stay out of the mess as much as possible. Um, pretty much, it was pretty successful in that until the last caution. I think we all saw the replay last night. It was
Yeah.
that last lap rather. It wasn't a caution. I coming out of 2 on the last lap, and there was that stack up, and that was really the only true incident I was really involved in.
Yeah.
I had the car kick out on me a couple times and spun it around once or twice, but other than that, I had a pretty clean race, just trying to survive. Right, it's almost like a super speedway,
A little bit.
but obviously not the same, not to the same extent, but it's kind of got a lot of the same attributes where you're really just trying to keep the car pointed straight and keep it clean. And so that was kind of my objective, and I think I did a pretty good job of that when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it was definitely a war of attrition.
Yeah,
I will say that.
no doubt. How about yourself? I know you were kind of had an up and down night. You started out pretty well, led some laps, I think.
Yep. Led a few laps early. Led 14 laps. So, um, I don't think I had the speed to win necessarily. I got home kind of like right before the race, so I really didn't get that many practice laps. I think if I had some time to practice, I would have been a little bit better. But I knew I definitely had the speed for a top 5, and then pitted at one point, made my way back through the field, and then there was the incident with Austin, which kind of it reminded me of like a much older Austin. Like I feel like he hasn't been making moves like this recently, but
I feel like we can do a whole segment just on him and
yeah,
his all in last night's race. Love you, Austin, but that was not your night.
yeah, definitely. I think he definitely got on some people's nerves, not just my own last night, but I mean I feel like he's gotten a lot like less erratic, but last night it was kind of just like a step back for me at least, because
Yeah,
there was um, the one where the one where it started for me was I was like entering in the third lane to give him room, and he just like plowed into the side of my car, and I lost a bunch of spots there. And then there was a wreck right in front of me after that. So that
Yeah,
that got me pushed down in the field, and then made my way back through. And then coincidentally, Austin spun out on his own, like right in front of me, and I had nowhere to go. So that was some more damage that I had to fix. And somehow I got back up to fourth. I don't really know if I could say how that happened. I think it was just, I think on those last few restarts, I kept getting on the inside and just taking advantage of people getting into each other. And I'll definitely take a fourth out of that chaotic race.
yeah, no, yeah. You got a good race overall. I thought, like you said though, like you get down to the inside, and that's the place to be. The outside just has
Yeah.
no momentum and no speed, and if you get trapped outside, you're going to go nowhere. And if you can find a hole on the inside, it's like you can pick up 2 3 spots pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, like even at the front on restarts, I would much rather be, third place than second place at Martinsville. That was
1,000%, yeah.
yeah, very apparent there. But there was yeah, I mean, there was a few beefs when we got off the racetrack and got in the voice chat. I think we joked about it on here last week about Cody and Roten, but
Yeah.
they had an incident pretty early on. Did you see that? I don't think I ever saw it.
I No, I don't think I saw it. I want to say Roden maybe came up off, was it come up off the corner off four?
Mm,
Well, maybe I don't. I'm trying to remember the replay. I know we looked at the replay, and I don't remember what that one was. There's so many
yeah.
incidents last night, but yeah, I know that certainly. I don't think anybody was. Well, I don't want to say that weren't surprised, but like you said, there was discussion about it, and it's happened before, so it wasn't. I guess wasn't too unexpected.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. One thing I did want to get your opinion on, and I don't really know if I have an opinion yet on this, but I'm in this other league on Friday nights, and they have a incident limit for their races. Do you think like we should consider having an incident limit at at short tracks specifically?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that we can do there. Certainly I think incident limit would be a good start. Kind of force people to be clean and keep it on the track and keep it off of everybody else. But I think a big one that maybe this is a fundamental thing that the league has. So I don't know that this is doable, but maybe getting rid of the fast repair at the short tracks. Um, I think would be maybe more beneficial than the incident limit. Uh,
Okay.
to me, we have the fast repair everywhere really, but uh, a lot of the incidents that we see at the short tracks, none of the hits are massive, right? They're not
Right.
big hits. It's like at the end of the day, it's a lot of little stuff that adds up. You might get a minute of optional, compounding every wreck you're involved in.
Right.
Uh, but I think just having that safety net of the fast repair kind of gets the guys in that mindset of, oh, if I wreck, it's not a big deal. I can just go take the fast repair and come right back out.
Right.
Uh, so I think kind of just if nothing else, just getting rid of that safety net and that fallback option. I think that would help a lot. But I do think I think you're onto something there with the incident points too. What that number is, I don't know. Maybe take whatever like the average incident repair or incident count is for our races. Maybe drop it by a couple points and
Yeah.
set that as your limit. Could be a good place to start. Because short track racing is so much fun, and I don't want
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to lose it out of the league. It's something that I think is fundamental to racing, and it's such a different discipline than racing a mile and a half every week because we can't handle the short track. So
Right.
um, yeah, I would do you I guess you're pretty strong on the incident points.
I mean, yeah, I don't really know. I think I'd like to see it just, and I don't think I would have had this opinion before I got in this other league, because their races are, it's like a full length Xfinity race, and you'll have a 12 incident limit. Like that's a
Okay.
very low
Yeah.
incident limit for a 300-mile race. And everybody races really clean because you can't you're going to get disqualified if you're bumping into people. So, um after seeing that and kind of the effectiveness of it, it just popped into my head, and especially after last night with what did we say, 20 cautions?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, 20 cautions for half the race. I mean, I feel like something has to change. I don't know. I'm obviously not in charge, but I because like you said, short track racing is super fun, and at all of these races, up towards the front of the field, there's some great racing going on, and then there's just a ton of crashes by people in the mid pack and the back trying to get to the front, but it's just too aggressive. And I mean, we had we had, let me see here. There was one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There was 7 guys over 20 incidents last night, and obviously not
yeah.
all of those are their individual fault. You get collateral damage, but
Oh, for
um,
sure.
I mean, I don't know. I think we have to clean it up. It's I mean, it's embarrassing to have that many cautions, even if you're not involved in a whole lot of them. It's just not a fun way to spend a Tuesday night driving around at 60 miles an hour around Martinsville. So, um,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. I just had that idea. Maybe they'll consider it. Maybe not. I think we got Bristol, Iowa, and Richmond coming up, and those could be similar to Martinsville. I don't think they'll be as bad, but um, yeah,
yeah.
I don't
I,
know.
I feel like Martinsville. Obviously, it's Martinsville's so tight that there's no room really. It's like there's two racing lines and there or two realistic lines to use, and once you kind of get sideways, you're kind of stacking up on top of each other.
Yeah,
So I don't see the same issues. Certainly not at Iowa or Richmond. I think there's enough room there to avoid incidents.
yeah,
Uh, Bristol can be a little tricky, especially with the way that cars kind of just fall to the bottom
yeah,
when they start spinning. But yeah, I think we'll be better off with these next three. But yeah, I like the concept of the incident points. Limit. I think there was a league that Ben and I raced in years ago now, but they had an incident limit, and I think it was a penal. I think you got penalized after so many points, and
yeah.
then
Okay,
after a second limit, then you got DQ'd.
that'd be interesting. Like, yeah, maybe you have a drive-through
But yeah,
penalty.
something to like, yeah, there's sure whatever even if it's just a points penalty, even in the standings, it's fine too.
Oh
But
yeah,
just something that's a little bit tiered, kind of, I think would be fine. Um, but yeah, I think there's something to be said for the incident limit because like you said, nobody wants to sit there and doing 35 miles an hour around Martinsville
yeah,
for an hour and a half is not what anybody's there for, and it really does. It sucks the life out of the party, right?
yeah. Definitely. Um,
The short track racing is so much fun, and 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 you don't get to do any of it because you're sitting there at 35 miles an hour for more than half the race. So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you have all those cautions, you're forcing everybody, like, to drive more aggressively because there's so many cautions. So it's all about track position, right? So, like, you
right,
never know when the cautions come out, so you need to get this spot right now. And
right.
it's like if we can all drive a little bit cleaner, you can maybe save your tires, work on a guy for a few laps, but we never really get that opportunity. I don't know what it was, but I would guess our longest green flag run last night was maybe like 10 laps, 12 laps.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe 15. I don't know what the number is. We had
Yeah.
one decent run early in the race, I
Yeah,
think.
I think so.
But yeah, outside of that, I don't. Yeah, there was nothing more than. I don't think there was anything more than 10 after that first one.
Yeah,
After the first one.
it was an interesting race. Do you have anything else on Martinsville before we dive into the points here?
No, I don't think so. Jump into standings.
Yeah, all right. So with Las Vegas coming up next week, Jack Drucker still leads. Dylan Hoffman with that win last night in Martinsville jumps up 7 positions, goes into third.
Good for him.
Um, Travis, you and Ben, unfortunately, were the two biggest losers in the points. Y'all each lost 5 spots last night, so that is a bummer. Um,
I'm just settling into where I'm supposed to be. I had that obviously winning week one. It's like I'm not supposed to be up in the top 5 points, but it put me up there, and now I'm just kind of falling back to where I belong.
what
So I'm not shocked by that.
what do you think? in your mind, like, because you're gonna be here for most, if not all, the races, right?
I'm gonna miss a couple coming up at the end of March, but yeah, I'll be here for all of them. Other than that,
What in your mind is like a good point standing finish? Like, if you finish in the top 10, is that?
yeah, I think top 10 historically would put me where I kind of expect to be.
Hmm.
I think anything higher than that is just kind of gravy.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of falling back where I need to be and get a good sense of where things stand here. Once we get 4 or 5 races in, for myself at least.
Yeah. Couple other big movers. Nick jumped up 5 spots. Cody jumped up four. A couple of good races here for Cody. I don't think he got the finish last week, but he ran really well, and I thought he did okay when he kept himself out of trouble last night. But I think he was involved in a few incidents as well.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely noticed. Yeah, I noticed Cody around. It seemed like he was involved in a lot, like you said, but when he wasn't, when we were racing, he was. I thought he was fast and had himself a good
Yeah,
race.
definitely showing some speed. We did have two new guys last night. We had Brandon Bender, who I raced around a little
Yep.
bit, and Colin Voiles, who I think was multiple laps down by the end of this thing. Did you get to race with them at all?
Yeah, Colin and I were I thought were similar. Had similar speed early on.
Uh huh.
So I was around him quite a bit. He was fun to race around. I had no problems with him.
Nice. Cool.
And then I think I don't know what incident he was involved in, but it was something maybe right around lap 100. And then for that last 60 laps or so, he was struggling to get back on the lead lap. And I think what did he end up 5 or 6 down? I think.
Double check in. Yeah, he ended up 6 down.
Yeah. So maybe not the best first race for him, but um, or finish wise at least. But I think he's in a good spot and should be fun to race around for the rest of the season for sure.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't draw too many conclusions from that race on how
Yeah,
our
and
lead
that's
usually
always
is.
yeah, that's always concerning, right? When we do certainly when we do we get new guys for their first race and it goes like that, or doing recruitment races, sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't go well. But um, I think being what are we in season 12 now? I think we've got ourselves a pretty established reputation of having a good league to race in. So
Yeah,
hopefully they
definitely.
can look at the bigger picture there.
Definitely true. So yeah, next week is Vegas. Any thoughts on Vegas? I'm not really. That's probably one of my least favorite mile and a halves. I think that's an unpopular opinion that I have, but I don't know. It's just kind of it's a little bit bland to me, but I'm excited to go there and get back on a normal racetrack. So, what do you think about Vegas?
Yeah, I think a mile and a half. I think they're underrated in general. I think they're fun to race on because there is, you get a little bit of everything as far as racing, and you get,
Yeah,
uh, you're by yourself, but you also, for some laps, for runs, but you also have strategy that comes into play quite a bit there at those tracks. So, uh, yeah, I think I enjoy the mile and a half. I think Vegas is. I do think you have an unpopular opinion there.
yeah,
I think it's a fun mile and a half to race on. So, yeah, this should be a good week coming up. I'm excited.
yeah. So, last season we went to Vegas. I ended up winning that race, but that was a very silly race with how terrible the dirty air was. I mean, you could not pass anybody in the truck, and so once I got out front, I was just that was the race where like aero blocking was the most apparent it's ever been to me because there was multiple times where guys were coming up and they were catching me very fast, and I just follow them in the corner and do whatever the line they're doing, and they can't even get
Sure.
anywhere near me. Um, I mean, they were definitely faster than me, but you can just aero block so bad with that truck. But I think it should be a good race at least. I don't hate Vegas by any means, but
Yeah.
it's just not my favorite mile and a half. But there's a lot of really good mile and a halves. Let me see here the
There are.
stats. Owen has 2 wins at Las Vegas. Judd, Jared Austin, and myself each have one. Let's see here if we've gone in the Xfinity car. Um,
while you're looking at that, you mentioned aero blocking and the dirty air being a problem with the trucks. Do you
Hmm.
think the Xfinity car, to me at least, I think the Xfinity car is probably the least aero dependent car of the NASCAR stock cars, at least. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I would say so. I think on certain mile and a half racetracks where there's kind of one really fast line, and maybe you get in like a late race scenario with like 10 laps to go, so everybody has to run that line, you can get a little bit of dirty air, but um, even still, it's minimal for sure. When you
Yeah.
think about like the next gen or the truck is just. I know you didn't even do any races last season, right?
No, I missed 2 or 3 seasons in a row.
Yeah. So last season, just every mile and a half we went to almost the dirty air was it was unbearable. I mean,
I
it was
don't.
really bad.
I was around for a couple of truck seasons in years past, but I don't remember that being such a big deal. I
Yeah,
think that might be an update in the newer cars, the newer trucks.
I believe they updated it. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm with you. I don't remember it being like that, but it was bad everywhere for sure. But Las Vegas was the absolute worst. Like
yeah,
if you were behind somebody, you were not gonna get past them. Um, yeah, so we've been here twice in the Xfinity car. One of them was won by Jared. That was season 5. I was not in that race. You were. You finished 13th. And then season 6, Owen won that one, and it looks like you finished 4th in that race. So, um, yeah,
yeah.
there's
I remember having a good run at Las Vegas early on. Like I said, I don't mind that track. It's not yeah, like it's not the best. It's a mile and a half, but I think it's a perfectly fine one. And
yeah,
yeah, I think I'll have a good run here. Hopefully again. Fingers crossed.
yeah. And the one that you finished top 5, there was 2 cautions, and the other one where Jared won, there was 0 cautions for that whole 134 lap race. So
Wow.
we can
I,
hopefully we can get through
I,
there cleanly.
yeah, it would be a lot to go back and look, but do you know how many races we've had as the league that have gone caution free? I can't imagine there's very many.
At Las
It's got to
Vegas
be one.
or just in general?
Oh, just because of league in general, yeah. I would have to think that's got to be one of just a handful.
I think I could quickly maybe pull that up. No.
Yeah, maybe next week or whatever. But
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay.
yeah, just interesting.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, but there's a lot of road
Really?
courses in there. There's a lot of road
Oh, okay.
courses in there.
Yeah, which we don't do cautions on at all anyway.
Yeah. Um, okay, yeah, maybe we can get into that next week. That's a good stat though. I
Yeah,
like that. I'm definitely gonna look
yeah,
into that.
yeah, that's interesting. We don't see that very often. So it's always there's always one or two guys that have something going on. So
Yeah, usually. Um, all right. Well, I think we can tie a knot on CRS. You want to jump into the real life racing?
yeah, let's chat about that a little bit. I didn't see much of it, but I saw a lot of the highlights and I have a few opinions on a few different things. So
Okay,
let's jump in there. Yeah,
right on. I love it. So, I didn't get to watch much of the truck or Xfinity race, but
yeah.
they obviously finished under green, which was great. I saw a stat. I can't remember the number, but I think like the last 13 truck races or some number around that range has finished under green. Like,
I, yeah, it was Jeff Gluck who tweeted that I think, and I want to say it was 16
yeah, maybe.
or
I
maybe
don't.
16 is the record. I don't. Yeah, it was in the teens. It was in the right in the mid teens.
I mean, that's incredible. You think of the truck series and it's just chaos, but they've been behaving themselves lately, apparently. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, Kyle Busch obviously with the great move to get the side draft on Friesen and take the win. I mean, just a ton of experience and yeah, KFB, right?
yeah. It's like it's no secret at this point if Kyle Busch is entering a truck or Xfinity race, he's pretty much going to be contending for the win, or
Yeah,
if not leading every damn lap in the race. So that doesn't come as a surprise, but I am glad that a lot of those races they turn out to be he just dominates and there's no race to really watch. But like you said, it was a good move coming out of, or really just on the coming into the tryover, right? He was coming
yeah,
out of four. He was tight. He was neck and neck. So Came down to the wire, and just glad at least we got to see a race there at the end.
Yeah, that was a definitely a good finish. The Xfinity race, I watched a little bit of it, but I don't know. You may have seen more on the internet about it. I felt like the parts I did watch were fairly uneventful, just because of the speed and driver skill from Austin Hill. He kind of just stayed out front for most of it.
Yeah, he whatever it is with that 21, he's got it figured out there at the super speedway at the drafting track. So,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I didn't see very of the race. I did watch, I think, the first two stages maybe, and I think he led almost every lap within those first two stages.
Yeah,
He's just so dominant, and has it that team's got it figured out there at those big tracks. So, again, it's almost like Kyle Busch being in a trucker Xfinity race at this point, where you kind of just know he's going to be up front, just like Kyle Busch would be. So,
yeah.
nothing too surprising
If there was
in the result, at least.
if there was a fantasy for Xfinity, you would definitely need to pick Austin Hill on all the
No
drafting
doubt.
tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
I
then there
think the
was.
biggest thing
Go
though out
ahead.
of that Xfinity race was that I think the biggest thing was that lack of yellow at the end, right?
Yeah.
There was a wreck on the backstretch, and they didn't throw the yellow, um, which has been a point of contention now for both weeks of NASCAR's season so far.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I think. I mean, obviously that should have been a yellow. You know. I don't know. I think they've just been bullied online so much recently that they decided not to throw it. But yeah. I mean.
Well, so that's I guess you can lump this with the Cup Series finish, right? Because it was the same situation, but they did throw the yellow,
Hmm.
and called it in turn three, or as they were entering turn three, or whatever it was. And I think that's where the frustration is that there's no consistency.
Right.
It's like I don't care which way you call it, but make it consistent.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the most outrage is right now. I think everybody wants to see it finish under green, but at least I think, to me, the level heads understand that there's safety involved, and some of these guys take some of these hits, and you want to get crews out to them as soon as you can, and you really can't do that if the track is still hot. So
Right.
I get both sides of that argument. I want yes, I think there was going to be a good finish Sunday if we got to, they were three wide, right? So I think there would have
Yeah.
been a really good finish all the way to the line, but we kind of got robbed of that. But at the same time, there was a couple big hits there in that wreck, so I get it. But yeah, I think it just comes down to consistency, really.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and they talk about it on DBC all the time, and Denny said it on his podcast this week as well. Is like the caution flag is supposed to come out when there is an unsafe condition on the racetrack. That's it.
Sure.
That's all it
Yeah.
means. It's not an entertainment flag, or you know when they decide not to throw a caution during a pit cycle because they don't want to mess up the pit cycle. It's like
Yeah.
that should not have any bearing on whether or not they're bringing the caution out. Like
Yeah.
the caution flag is for an unsafe condition on the racetrack. So in the Xfinity race, when you have a massive pile up on turn three, throw the caution. Like, what are we doing? What year is
Yeah.
it? What is it? 2003? Like, we don't race back to the line. And there has been some talk about, I saw some people on Twitter talking about like, oh, well, we can divide the track into four sectors and throw the caution in the first three sectors and let the leaders race back. Like, that's just never gonna work. I mean, you're not gonna have if
No,
you, that's just it's just not gonna work because it won't be fair because certain spotters could get confused and call a caution, or drivers can see the lights and get confused and think it's under caution. Like the whole racetrack needs to be under caution. It's not a road course. So I think that's
yeah.
out. The best suggestion I saw really is there's two. And this is from DBC as well. Is you either get rid of the rule where once the white flag comes out, the caution ends the race. Like if there's a caution on the last lap, re-rack them and do it again. Like if we're gonna go full shit
Yeah.
show, let's go full shit show. And I I used to not be a fan of that. Like they did that in the All Star race a few years ago. Remember when Blaney had the window net thing
Yeah, yeah, I
at
remember that.
Texas?
Yep.
I was at that race, and it was annoying because the caution came out on the last lap. But in the All Star race, that was a rule. Like we're gonna do an overtime again. The race must finish under green, and
Right.
I wasn't a fan of it then. But with all this controversy and all this stuff going on, like I'm so sick of this conversation. I'm cool with that. The other suggestion I have is just get rid of overtimes, but we obviously know that's not going to happen. So in that
Oh,
case, I
yeah.
would say just yeah, if the caution comes out on the white flag, don't end the race, re-rack them, do it again. Make it finish under green. If you want to go full shit show, go full shit show.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the appropriate way to describe it too. Is shit show.
Yeah,
Um, that's kind of what NASCAR has been obviously trending towards. I think they're committed to that at this point over the last 15 years, really, since the playoffs and the chase were introduced. So,
yeah,
I think that would be the most likely scenario. I don't think that's something that they're going to change in mid-season, though. I don't think you can change that mid-season.
yeah. I would agree.
But yeah, I think something for them to look at down the line. It's like I'm going to be honest with you. You mentioned you're sick of the controversy. I'm just sick of the controversy with NASCAR in general. Right? It's like every single week,
Yeah,
race control is making some kind of call, whether it be middle of the race or at the end of the race or whatever it is. It's like nobody's talking about the racing, and they're always talking about what race control fucked up this week, right? So,
yeah,
and I get there's so many judgment calls that are involved here, but at some point, like I'm not even like trying to harp on NASCAR here. It's more of like just the NASCAR community as a whole. Of like, dude, you got to understand that there's going to be instances where you're not going to like the call, and it's just it's just how it is, right? There's
yeah.
so much gray area involved with these judgment calls that there's going to be times where you're not happy with the call or you might not agree with it, but it's just comes with the nature of the sport, I guess. So I guess
I,
I'm just sick of seeing all the controversy, all of the uproar and all the outrage
I,
over very simple things, really.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that's just the nature of sports in general, right? And
Yeah.
in baseball, there's very few games that I watch where I'm not complaining about something the umpires do. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, football, basketball, you hear it too. I'm not super into those sports, but you definitely hear the complaints about the refs. And I mean, officiating is part of sport, but it just seems like recently with NASCAR, they've been kind of making problems for themselves. Like
Yeah.
there's calls when there doesn't need to be calls, and there's not a call when there should be a call. And
Yeah.
for me, at least, it feels like it didn't used to be like that even a couple of years ago. So I don't know. I don't have any idea why that is, but they definitely just need to stay out of the story. You know how like when a driver gets in a few incidents, a few races in a row, and the pundits and everybody are saying like the next few races they just need to not be talked about. Like
Yeah.
they need to run 25th and not hit anything, and the story's going to go away. I feel like that's
Right.
what NASCAR needs to have happen. But with the way they have this format and the way they do the overtimes and this new DVP thing that it seems like nobody in the garage understands from what I can grasp. I mean, um, with all of that, um, it just seems like they put themselves in these scenarios where yeah, they become a story when they don't sometimes need to be.
Yeah. No, I think you kind of answered your own kind of question there. It's yeah, like in the last couple 3-4 years, right? They've become part of the story, and I think it's because of how many different layers of all this stuff that they've added to it.
Yeah.
With the overtimes and the playoffs, I think it's yeah, it was never. The more they add to it, the more they're going to become part of the story.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, if you take away the playoffs and you take away overtimes, I mean, you let let's say somebody wins the championship with 5 races to go. Nobody's going to
Yeah.
be bitching at NASCAR for that. They're just going to say,
No.
"Well, that's kind of boring." Or let's say caution comes out with 3 to go and the race ends under caution. Nobody's going to be mad about the officiating. It might be like, "Oh man, I just sat here. I wanted to see a green flag finish." But that's racing. Sometimes the race ends under caution. I mean,
See, I don't disagree with you. I think we get that as race fans, but
yeah,
NASCAR has made this commitment to to catering to the casual fans, which is fine. You got to grow the sport. I get that.
Yeah.
But I think you would get uproar and outrage of people that tune in for a one-off race every now and again. If they tune in and every time it's ending under caution, it's like why am I spending 3 hours, just for this to end under caution? Like I wanted to see a finish, right? So
Yeah.
just
I
just playing that devil's advocate there because I get NASCAR stance on that too.
yeah, I think
Yeah, as a racing purist, I get it, but
if they got rid of green white checkers, they would have to get rid of the playoffs too, because then you would have guys being less aggressive at the end because it's all about average finish, and
well,
right now it's really not.
I'll meet you. I'll meet you in the middle there and say, well, just get rid of the win and you're in,
Yeah,
right? Have the playoffs all you want, but the win and you're in thing is, I think that's what nobody's racing for second anymore because
right.
not that they really were ever, but second doesn't do you any good. You can finish second every fucking race and still not make the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you have to win. It's like you almost have to win a race these days, especially with how much parity they've introduced over the last several years. There's seasons where we have 16, 17 different winners, and it's throughout the season at least, and it's like you have to win to get in the playoffs.
yeah. You definitely do, and I'm sure we could go on for about an hour talking about
Yeah.
all the different format things that we would
Oh,
change
yeah.
within
No kidding.
NASCAR. But speaking of the parity you mentioned, this is a good segue into the winner we had on Sunday, Christopher Bell. So we have two back-to-back winners that are kind of what most people would consider championship four contenders out of these wild
Yeah.
card races. So, um, when they put Daytona and Atlanta at the beginning of the season, I think they kind of did it to get what we had last season with a Daniel Suarez winning, or somebody who maybe wasn't going to make the playoffs on points to shake things up. But we got two championship four contenders winning in the first two races.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You go back and you look at years like over the last couple of years where you had like Michael McDowell's and Ricky Stenhouse won
Yep,
a race won the 500 a couple of years ago. Uh, uh, Harrison Burton last year at Daytona. So yeah, I think that's kind of probably what NASCAR is going for, right? To really cause some chaos there early on, and instead you get two winners that are going to win races anyway, right, throughout the season,
yep,
and lock their own spots in. But yeah, it certainly. I don't want to say that it makes the playoff race any more dull because there is still 24 races to go before the playoffs. It's not like we're
yep.
anything can happen in those 24. So certainly, we're only two races in, and we'll got a lot of racing left to go. So I don't think it's too much of an indicator for the season just yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's good that we got two guys that are going to be up there anyway, winning these races, because it kind of, I really like the points battle at the end of the season for the playoffs.
Yeah,
So if we
yeah,
have like, I'm a big fan of like, since we're stuck with this 16-person format, I think it should be much less, but that's besides the point. If we have 12 winners and there's four spots open for points, I really like that, because then you do get points racing at the end of the season. Um, Whereas if you have 15 winners going into those last two races, like, I don't know where the second to last race is this season, but like going into Daytona, it's just um, it's really chaotic, and you have like what you had last season with Harrison Burton, and then nobody gets in on points. But I think these two guys, Byron and Bell, going back to back, I feel like that presents that opportunity going in later.
yeah. No, yeah, you're definitely onto something there. I think, uh, yeah, the point racing at the end of the year is a lot of fun. It does. Usually, yeah, if there's four spots open, usually one or two of them have run away with it, right? There's guys that have
Yeah,
had good seasons all regular season, but haven't won, so they're 100 points up, so they're certainly safe. But then you get a couple guys. It feels like Bubba Wallace is one of those guys every year that's always plus minus five to the cut line, and it's like he's got a race for his life those last 3 weeks.
yeah.
There's other guys certainly you can throw in that mix, but yeah, I think that's a lot of fun, and it makes those last couple weeks there really exciting as you head into the playoffs.
Well, yeah, one of those guys that will probably be on the bubble unless he wins a race is, and if he has a good season, is Carson Hocevar, and he had quite the eventful night. I know you didn't watch all the race, but what did you see about Hocevar there?
Yeah, so I know he had some issues racing some guys. I think he um, maybe made a bad push on Ryan Blaney.
Oh yeah.
kind of late in the race and spun him out into the corner. It was a really good save on Ryan's part to
Yeah,
keep it
that
off
was
the wall,
insane.
and he still salvaged a good finish. And then so obviously we saw Hocevar finish second, and really, I mean, his nose was out front there for a second, I think, right, and
Yeah.
almost came away with the win, and he would have certainly been part of that race to the line if they had let that go green. Uh, but yeah, he's the guy that could almost benefit, like you said earlier, from maybe just keeping his nose out of keeping himself off TV for a little bit,
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and keeping himself out of the story. Because it's like if he's one of those guys that it's like every week he's got something going on. Uh, he'll learn. He's just a young kid with big ambitions and wants to win races, and I get that. But he's got a lot of talent, and I think it was it Blaney who said, this kid's got a lot of talent. He just needs to like learn how to race and do it the right way. So
Yeah. Yeah, he had a
yeah, future's bright for him overall. I think.
I agree. I think he's got a lot of talent. I mean, he showed it on Sunday. He was definitely making moves, but I mean, early on he was, he made Kyle Busch really mad like in stage 1. And I think that kind of speaks to like the inexperience of, it's a long race. You don't need to be pissing people off in stage 1, like
Sure.
save it a little bit. And then the thing on Ryan Blaney, it was yeah, I mean, there's no other way to say it other than yeah, it was just a bad push. I mean, entering turn 1, um, you don't need to lift a guy's rear tires up like that. He's going to spin every single time. And I feel like Carson should know that at this point with even with his truck series experience, um, you should know not to push a guy right there and we saw what happened. But overall, I mean,
No
he
doubt.
he ended up finishing second and I did think it was cool. I don't know if you saw the clip of Chastain like pulling him aside like into the infield grass so nobody could really hear what they were talking about. And cuz
Yeah.
Chastain's kind of been his mentor and I thought that was cool that he pulled him aside and kind of told him like, dude, you need to calm down because it's like there was so many memes like I've been here before, dude. Like I'm doing what you're doing and it doesn't turn out well because Hendrick's gonna get mad and they're gonna take away all
Right.
your speed or something like that.
Right.
So
There's
um,
yeah, there's certainly nobody better to speak to him than Ross Chastain, who's had his fair share of controversy over his first couple of years in Cup Series. So
yeah,
no doubt
definitely.
there.
What did you make of the Larson and Cindric incident there coming to the end of the race?
Yeah, yeah, I'm torn. I think, like I said, I just want consistency over the finishes. I don't care about uh, which way it goes. I just want it to be consistent. And if you didn't call it Saturday, then why are we calling it Sunday? Kind of thing. So, um, yeah, we were robbed of a good finish, but at the same time, I get that there's a safety aspect involved, and you don't want those guys
Yeah, I think that definitely
in
should have been a
harm's
caution.
way. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Did you see the one where Larson kind of squeezed Cindric up into the wall? There was a caution with like 3 to go.
I did not see anything about that one. No, not gonna
Okay,
lie.
yeah, no, Larson was in the lead, and Cindric had a run, and he was on his outside. Or I think maybe Larson was going for the lead on Cindric, and
Okay,
he was about a half a car length ahead, and he Larson, basically he did what he does, and all the great race car drivers do this. They put you in a position where you have to lift, or there's going to be a wreck. And he
sure.
obviously was really upset with Denny a few years ago for doing that, or maybe it was last season, but I think it was a couple of years ago there at Pocono. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there I saw some rhetoric online about like, oh well, Cindric should have lifted, and it's like, well, Cindric was on his outside, like he's not going to lift. He's entitled to that room, and Larson just kind of ran him up and got him in
Yeah,
the wall, and then Cindric spins down and collects Byron as well. So um, I think Larson pretty much took responsibility for it as well. But yeah, I don't know.
did you see Larson was on stacking pennies with Corey LaJoy,
I
and
saw the clip.
I thought
Yeah,
this was I guess this was the incident that you were talking about.
yes,
And yeah, Kyle literally said, he goes, I don't know what else to say other than I'm sorry.
yeah,
And I think maybe somebody posted in the Discord, or maybe that's where I saw it.
Yeah,
And
Larson was
yeah, so
saying
I thought that was funny. And then Cindric gave you a business card,
that's so
which is
funny.
fun. But that's just Austin Cindric, right? Like that's I feel
Yeah.
like that's just Austin. Like he's just a respectable dude. He's a good kid, and he's raised the right way, come up the right way, and even with his dad being involved, but he's shown that he deserves it and all. And so that's not too surprising, but very kind of got a chuckle out of that kind of that old school aspect there.
Yeah, there's not a more Penske way to handle something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like here's my business card, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
and Larson said he liked that. Like it's very
Yeah.
very old fashioned and hopefully they can talk and, you know, get back on good terms. I think like Cindric's one of the best like plate racers in the field right now, and
Yeah.
he just keeps finding new and creative ways to not win these races when he has the fastest car and is usually driving the best. And this one obviously wasn't his fault, but yeah, and especially I believe that happened with 2 or 3 laps to go, and so you just can't expect him to lift there. He's definitely not going to
Oh,
lift.
yeah.
Um, so it was unfortunate for him. We're going into Coda next weekend. I will be at the race. We're driving down there Saturday morning, so I'll get to see Xfinity and Cup. Should be about a 4 or 5 hour drive, so not too bad. What do you think about this new course layout that they're doing?
So I actually jumped on and tried to turn a couple laps last night after our race just to see it.
Okay.
And I did see a comment online before I jumped on. I saw a comment online that said it was like there's too much like second gear going on, and there's not enough speed and enough like passing opportunities.
Yeah.
I immediately agreed with that. I as soon as I think I got through one lap, and I was like, I was hardly driving the car at all. Like I felt like I was babying it around every corner. And yeah, I'm not a good road racer to begin with, and my first time around certainly, but um, yeah, I am worried about the speed involved, and that it just feels too tight, too technical for these big stock cars.
Yeah. So to that point, and I definitely I believe I saw that same tweet that you're talking about, and I do agree. Like generally in a road course, you need a long straight into a heavy braking zone, and that's like a
Yeah,
passing zone. And this track definitely doesn't have that, especially with turn one. Turn one's really difficult to pass
yeah,
at Coda because it's so uphill and it's such a tight turn. So there's definitely not any huge braking zones. My opinion on it, though, I think I have a little bit more of an optimistic one. Maybe it's because I'm going to the race and I don't want to see a stinker, but I feel like it's going to be kind of like a short track. Like it'll be like a short track road course. That's how I
sure.
feel like it's going to go. Like um, and with this next gen car, hopefully the tire is gonna wear out a little bit more. Maybe because the speeds are gonna be lower, they can bring a softer tire. And if there's tire wear, I think it will be a good race. But I definitely agree that I've made a few laps because this league is going there on Friday, and I'm
Okay.
probably gonna get some laps in today or tomorrow just to tidy it all up. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect. I do think it will be a more entertaining race than when they did the full circuit. Um, And obviously, the one on iRacing is not 1-to-1 because they added the little hairpin there, and I think that hairpin
Yeah,
has the potential to be so chaotic. Like, yeah, I mean, also the way that section works, it does add a little bit of speed going into turn 12, like after the chicane on the iRacing version, where you go out onto the backstretch. Because they made this
okay.
change, they're going to add a little bit more speed, so it will be a little bit of a heavier braking zone. So maybe turn 12, you can get some passes as well. Also, but you know, on the contrary to that, there's not going to be track limits there, so they won't have to brake as hard in the NASCAR. So um, I don't know. We do have some good drivers that are going to be up there. I mean, the names I think of are obviously SVG, AJ
Yep.
Allmendinger,
Yep.
Byron, Reddick, Connor Zilic is going to be making his first start. He's, you know, he came out and won Watkins Glen in his first Xfinity race. I mean, I don't think,
Dominated, right? I think he had a really good run there. I was just gonna say that.
yeah, and I mean, I know it's the Cup Series and these guys are the best of the best, but I don't think anybody would be super surprised if Zilich went up there and got a
Yeah,
top five or maybe even won the race. So um, yeah, I'm excited for it. I love road course racing. And the start to this season has just been savage with two super speedways and a road course. I mean, it's nothing like we've seen before.
yeah, no kidding. I guess I didn't look closely enough at the schedule, right, going into Daytona to realize that Atlanta was right after it. And then when I saw that after Daytona wrapped up and I saw that Atlanta was next, I was like, wait, we're really going back to back super speedway or drafting racing?
Yeah,
I was like, that doesn't seem right. And then yeah, and then we jump into a road course right after that. So a lot of parody and chaos here for the first couple weeks.
yeah, definitely. And who knows? Maybe we'll get another one of those top contenders like I said, like Reddick is usually really fast on the
Yeah,
road courses. Like if he goes out and wins, that would kind of take some of that parity away. Or you could get SVG. I feel like most of us think SVG is going to win one of these road course races. So if he can knock that out early, that'll be really good for his season. Not only because he'll be locked into the playoffs, but then he can really go to these ovals with no pressure at all and just try to learn and get better. And
yeah, exactly,
I
exactly.
think over the years, if he sticks around and does 3 or 4 years in Cup, I think he's eventually gonna figure out the ovals and be pretty good. I mean, he's obviously a world class driver, so I think he'll be able to figure it out. But if he can knock out a win here, that'll definitely help his chances. I think.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got he had a couple good runs last year in the Xfinity car, and
Yeah.
obviously we saw what he can do on the road courses. It's no secret there, but um, yeah, I don't think it would be. I don't want to call him a playoff lock, but I do think he would be deserving of a spot. By the end of the season, I think we would all agree that he's deserving of a spot if he got one. So
Yep.
this would be a good week for him.
Yeah, especially with just I believe it's 5 road course races in the regular season. You just have to think
Yeah,
he's gonna get one of those. I mean, we'd be more surprised if he didn't than if he did. Um,
for sure.
so yeah, I guess all we really have to do now is maybe take a pick for a win prediction at Coda.
Yeah, you want to go first? I'll be there. I'll let you. You know the track. I'll let you get first dibs.
Okay. I've thought about this a lot. But with those guys I mentioned, I feel like any of them could take it. Um, I am gonna say reluctantly, I don't want this to happen, but I'm gonna predict William Byron.
Okay.
I think because he won last season, and I think the Hendrick cars had a couple of wins on road courses. I believe Larson won the Roval, so um, if my memory serves me correctly, so
Sounds right.
I think he did last season.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Byron the um, just because of how their cars are, and if this race does turn into a situation where people can't pass and it is too technical, then I think he'll get out front and he'll be a tough one to pass.
You left me with all the ringers.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that. All the names you mentioned, then you go with Byron.
yeah,
No, I think it's a good pick. He's obviously proven he can drive on the road courses, and
yep.
24 cars fast everywhere it goes. So I think that's a solid pick. Oh, left the door open for me.
See, this is the
I kind of
problem.
want
I
to. I
left
almost
you with like 5 guys you could pick.
Yeah, I almost want to not even like take one of them too. I was like, for some reason, I want to go with the complete wild card and take like a McDowell or somebody who's like
Oh
been
wow.
very fast in the road courses. Maybe obviously wouldn't be super expected, but he's had so much speed there. I don't think I'm going to do that though. I think I'm going to say this is the one SVG gets done. I think this is Van Gisbergen's week. Gets another one in the Cup Series. Obviously, we know what he's capable of on the road courses, and especially with the new track
Yeah,
that nobody else has seen. The last time we had a new road course introduced, he won it. So
yeah,
uh, I think I like his chances a lot.
yeah. That's a great point. I mean, he has ran the short course layout. I believe the supercars ran a race here, but it was the old with the little chicane, so it's not exactly right. But like you said, yeah, like
It's new to
most.
the rest of the series, right? At the end of the
Yes,
day, so
yes,
I think he's got a leg up on most of it, and I think he's a quicker learner than most of the regulars would be.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if SVG went out there and won it.
Yeah,
If you're asking me who I would want to win, I would love to see Connor Zilic win because I'm going to be there. So if I get to
yeah,
see him win in his first start, that'll be very cool. But
yeah.
um, yeah, I think that's a great pick. You got anything else on Coda or Atlanta we want to touch on before we head out of here?
No, no. Funny enough, I'm going to be in Austin this weekend,
Are you
but I'm
really?
not going to the race. Yeah, I'm not going to the race, but I maybe poor planning on my part. I didn't realize I was going to be there at the same time the same weekend, and didn't plan my didn't make my plans properly enough to be able to go to the races. But um, no, I have fun there. That's obviously I know there's really cool experience there at Coda. So
Yeah.
I hope you have a good time and yeah, and see that Zillage win. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, well, if you have some free time, I don't know what you're doing down there, but maybe we can hang out Saturday night or Sunday night or however long you're going to be down there.
Yeah, yeah. I'll see what how my day's playing out Saturday, and I'll maybe get in touch with you at some point there. But yeah, have a good time and enjoy it.
We certainly will.
Yep.
I think that is going to do it for us on the Bad Leagues Bad Pods podcast. Travis, thank you so much for filling in. I definitely enjoyed our conversation, and we'll definitely get you back on here for a few episodes. I like having different guests on. I mean, I think we had Judd on last week, and that went really well with 3 people. So um, we can definitely make this happen again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. I enjoy doing it. It's fun to chat and have some conversation, whether we're agreeing or not on everything.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's fun to come on. So definitely appreciate you having me.
cool, man. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Please leave a like, leave a review on Spotify, and we'll talk to y'all